everybody, I hope you're doing well and you already have an amazing day. Today's video is going to be a bit different as I will be sharing how I plan my renderings. So the rendering itself is more artistic in this video. My goal with this video was to have fun and show you how I plan my renderings from sketch to the final outcome. And by the way, you can also skip to the end of the video if you just want to watch my render settings for my final images. Okay, so in the first step, I usually think about an idea, some vision I want my final scene to look like. I usually start making sketches and try to get my idea down on paper. So just take some paper and start drawing. Think about how you want your scene to look like what kind of lighting atmosphere would you like, such as morning, evening, or night maybe. You can also think about weather. Which weather do you prefer, like rain, sun, snow? What materials do you want to use in your scene? You can also get some inspiration from other artists. Look at photographs, drawings, or other renderings. Try to learn from other artists how they handle light, materials, and colors. Also, I usually start with a rough sketch and then I go into detail later. You know, your sketch doesn't have to be perfect, but it can definitely help you to set a framework for how you would like your rendering to look like. The next step is to move on to the modeling part. You can also search for suitable 3D models online, but always pay attention to the licenses when downloading 3D models. In my case, for my scene, I bought some windows on sketchfab and I used them for my object. The rest I modeled myself in Blender. Blender is great, but not so easy for beginners. I often make mistakes myself and I try to keep things simple and work with the basic objects. Sometimes I forget to apply my scale, that's very important. And sometimes you also may need to redefine the UV of your object, like for instance a wall. Sometimes it's distorted by scaling or changing. I then saved the file as a GLTF file and then I loaded it into Twinmotion. I'm going to show you now my final images and also my render settings. I rendered everything with Path Tracer. I also rendered more than once because I'm going to show you now my attempts and what I changed. This is my first attempt and you do see that it's overall too dark. Also the glass material looks weird. In some spots it's way too dark and also in the front of my picture you see that I do have some weird lines going on because I used a line light filter and also depth of field. I had to disable the line light filter. So my second attempt, you see it's much too yellow. That's because I used some color gradient filter. Also, I used too much sun intensity and in some spots it's still way too dark. And also, I didn't really like the color of my trees, so I had to change this as well. So this is my third attempt and this looks pretty good, I think. I changed the color of my trees, but still it's a bit too dark in some places. So I had to play around a bit with the exposure, the ambient lighting and also my HDRI intensity. So this is my final image. I'm going to show you now my render settings for it. If you want more detail on my render settings, I can make a video in Twinmotion and I could show you the render settings in more detail. So this was my second image. And you see now, this is my first attempt. It's much too bright and also in the back I think it looks a bit weird because I don't have any trees in the back and I want more depth in the back, so I changed that. So I used some vegetation in the back. Also, it's still too bright. The sun intensity is way too high here in this image. It looks pretty weird, I think. Also the glass material looks weird, so I had to change the glass material to reflected glass. And also I have inside my house some omnidirectional and area lights, and I had to play around with the light settings. So that was my third attempt. I think it's pretty good, but now I had the problem again that in some spots it's too dark, and also the glass material is not perfect. So I had to play around with the exposure again, and also the ambient and the intensity of my HDRI. In some spots it's still a bit too dark, but I don't really mind for that image. So again, I'm going to show you my general render settings for this image. So for my third image, the image overall looks pretty similar to the second one, but still, like, this was my first attempt and it's too much exposure here and the sun intensity looks weird, and also I do have a wrong lighting inside the house. Again, the light settings are important if you're using omnidirectional or area lights inside a building. You have to play around with the settings. Less is probably better than more, because more looks pretty weird, which you see right here. For my second attempt, you do see that the glass material looks weird again. I had to change the material here to reflected glass, and I also had to play around with the sun intensity, but overall it looks a bit better than the first attempt. So that was my final image. Again, I could play around a bit more with the lighting settings inside my house, because I think I'm not 100% happy with this outcome, because the window looks a bit weird, I think, but you see what I mean. Like, you have to usually render in a lower quality first. You have to look at your image and be like, okay, I need to change this and I need to change that, and then you have to render again until you're satisfied with the result. Also, here are my render settings, my general ones. I really hope you liked this video. If you want a more detailed video for my Path Tracer settings in Twinmotion, I could do all of those images in Twinmotion and could show you all of my render settings in more detail. Thank you for taking the time to watch my video. If you have any ideas on what you would like to have explained, let me know. Remember, rendering should be fun and bring your ideas and visions to life. The more precise and detailed your 3D model is, the more realistic also your outcome will be. I hope you have a wonderful day. Enjoy your rendering process. And yeah, I hope I see you in my next video. Thank you and bye.